Charlie, you ever wonder what happened to this country's backbone? I walk through downtown LA or San Francisco and it looks like a war zone, except the war isn't in some faraway desert, it's right here on our own streets. Men and women sleeping on cardboard wrapped in trash bags to stay dry. Veterans with service medals tucked away in their pockets, sitting on a curb begging for a sandwich. These aren't just statistics. These aren't strangers. These are our brothers, our sisters, our fathers, our sons. These are our fellow Americans. We see them, but we've trained ourselves to look away. And you know what makes it burn? What really gets me? It's not that we can't fix it. It's that we won't. We act like it's some impossible puzzle, some unsolvable riddle. It's not. We have the materials. We have the empty land. We have the manpower. We could put a roof over every single one of their heads by Christmas if we wanted to. What we don't have is the will. We've got excuses. We've got bureaucracy. We've got politicians who care more about their poll numbers than they do about people freezing to death on the sidewalk. And that, my friend, is unforgivable. It's a national disgrace.
I've seen war. I've seen men bleed out in the mud, fighting for the idea of America, for the promise of a home to come back to. I've seen them come home, only to fight a quieter, lonelier battle. One with no parades, no medals, no speeches from politicians, just silence. And in that silence, too many of them fall. They survive the firefight, but they lose the war at home. The truth is simple, and it's always been simple. A man needs shelter, a roof over his head. Without it, you don't have a fighting chance. You can't get a job if you don't have an address to put on the application. You can't beat an addiction if you're sleeping in the rain, cold and desperate. You can't heal from the trauma of what you've seen if every single night is just about survival. You give a man a roof, you give him a place to lock the door, a place to feel safe. You give him dignity. You give him dignity, and you give him hope. And with hope, a man can rebuild his own damn life. That's not a handout. That's not charity. That's justice. It's the bare minimum we owe them.
You want to hear numbers? Let's talk numbers, because the numbers make this even more infuriating. We got about 770,000 homeless people in America right now. Out of them, somewhere between 30 and 40,000 are veterans. Veterans, men and women who wrote this country a blank check up to and including their lives. You know how much it would cost to get every single one of those 770,000 people a home, a real home? You can buy these small prefab $10,000 units. They're already being made. Sturdy, warm, a place to call their own. You do the math. That's $7.7 billion. Let's round up. Let's add another few billion for roads, for water, for a small clinic, maybe a grocery store in each of these new communities. Let's call it an even $15 billion total to solve the entire problem. And you know what? Let's double it. Let's make it $30 billion just to shut up the critics who say it can't be done. It's still pocket change compared to what we throw around on nonsense. We've sent more than $100 billion to Ukraine. $100 billion. And what do we get for it? Not accountability. Not peace. Just another endless tab and a bunch of smiling politicians on TV. Meanwhile, right here, the men who carried rifles for this country can't even get a warm bed. It's not just insane. It's obscene.
Riggs, you're right. But the real number is even simpler. $50 billion. That's the number that solves this, soup to nuts, with money left over. Washington spends money like a gambler with someone else's wallet. They blow that much on gender studies programs in Pakistan, on climate change conferences in Paris, on foreign aid to countries that hate us, and they do it every single year without blinking an eye. They don't even know where the money goes. It just vanishes into the swamp. And don't tell me about zoning laws or regulations. That's politics. That's an excuse. The federal government owns millions of acres of land coast to coast. They could sign an executive order tomorrow. This acres is for veterans housing. Done. No debate. No environmental impact studies. No community review boards full of NIMBYs. Just action. They don't do it because it's not glamorous. There are no headlines in solving a problem you helped create. There are no champagne fundraisers. But you ask the American people, you ask the guy working 2 jobs to make ends meet, he'll tell you straight. He'd rather see his tax money house a vet than vanish into some foreign minister's offshore bank account.
Picture it. It's not complicated. Communities built fast, efficient, clean, not slums, not projects. Dignified communities. Rows of small, sturdy homes, each with its own front door and a small patch of grass. A little community clinic staffed by VA doctors and nurses so these guys can get the care they need without waiting 6 months for an appointment. A corner store where folks can buy their own groceries with dignity instead of waiting in a line for scrap. A rec hall for town meetings, for recovery groups, for a place for kids to play ball. You don't just solve homelessness, you solve a dozen other problems at the same time. You clean up the streets, you bring down crime, you reduce the strain on our emergency rooms. You give neighborhoods back to the people who live in them. You rebuild pride, not just in the people you're helping, but in America itself. That's the real win. And you do it veterans first. That's the headline America is starving for. As of today, there are no more homeless vets in the United States. You want unity? You want to bring this country together? That's how you do it.
And it has to be done now. If it isn't done now, with this president, it won't be done. You get a president with steel in his spine, a man who isn't afraid to break the rules. You act while that window is open, because the next one, the one after that, they'll talk, they'll form committees, they'll hold hearings, they'll commission studies, and in 5 years, nothing will have changed except the number of homeless will be higher and the tents will have spread further. Trump's got a chance here. A historic chance. One stroke of the pen, $50 billion set aside from the foreign aid budget. He could be remembered not just for fighting the swamp, not just for the economy, but for being the president who gave every single veteran and every single homeless American a key to their own front door. He could fix in 1 year what they hadn't fixed in 50. And let me tell you, Riggs, history doesn't remember excuses. It doesn't remember committees or studies. It remembers action. 50 years from now, they'll look back and say, that's the moment America finally stood up for its own. Or they'll say, that was the chance we let slip away while we were busy funding someone else's war.
You know what scares me, Charlie, more than anything? It's that people have gotten so used to it. It's become part of the landscape. They step over the tents on their way to get coffee. They drive past the men holding signs at the intersection. They stop seeing them as people. They become invisible. And that's how civilizations fall. Not from an enemy at the gates, but from rotting from the inside out, from a loss of compassion, from forgetting who we are. We can fix this, not in decades, not in theory, right now. $50 billion in the greatest country on the face of the earth can finally prove that it takes care of its own first. But if we don't, then shame on every single one of us who looked away. This isn't about politics anymore. It's about whether we actually mean what we say when we pledge allegiance to that flag. Because if we won't fight for our veterans, if we won't fight for our most vulnerable people, then all the words, all the speeches, all the parades in the world mean nothing.
All right, folks, that's it for today's talk. I'm Chris Dallas. Now it's your turn. We want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and let us know what you think about this plan to finally take care of our veterans and every American living without a roof. Could it work? Should it be done now? We want your voices in this conversation. And please do us a big favor. Hit that subscribe button, tap the like, and share this video everywhere you can. A lot of you have been telling us you've been unsubscribed without your knowledge, or that you can't even like a video anymore. That's how we know this channel has been shadow banned. The only way around it is for you, the people, to spread it. So don't just watch, be part of it. Subscribe, like, comment, and share. Help us grow this message the way it deserves. And let me close with this. President Trump, you've always said you stand with the veterans. Well, here's your chance to show it. Step up to the plate, push Congress to release this money, and make history by putting every veteran and every homeless American under a roof. You've got just over 3 years left in this term. If you don't do this now, no future president ever will. Mark my words. This is Chris Dallas, Celebrity Recreations. Thanks for being here. Thanks for standing with us. And we'll see you in the next one. Chris Dallas, Martin Riggs, and Charles Bronson out.